17-year-old DanielMoshi loved to sing, and his talent for it was undeniable.
It's an honor to see my son sing to the Lord, praise him. It was an honor also that I was playing for him.
Daniel's father, Loden, would sometimes accompany his son on the piano, but those days have now come to a tragic end. On Friday, the Leiden High School senior died after performing during a very special choir workshop event at Naperville North High School.
He was singing, they had dinner, and he was just fine. And they told us that while he was doing his solo, he just passed out.
Daniel's mother, Carolyn, says her son was rushed to the hospital, but doctors would later tell his family that he passed away. Carolyn says the DuPage County coroner told her that at this point, they have no clue why he died.
His organs were all healthy. His heart, absolutely nothing wrong with him.
Daniel's parents say he wanted to study theater in college and then head off to New York City, where he had dreams of performing on Broadway. Daniel's family says he was a young man filled with passion, and they are at peace with his death.
I know my child. He's with the Lord. He belonged to the Lord. So that gives our faith is what's keeping us and giving us strength.
The Lord has his other will. He wants him to be with him. And I'm okay. We are okay with that.
In Franklin Park, Christian Farr, NBC 5 News.
The Internal Revenue Service has announced several adjustments to account for the impact of inflation.
These include higher federal income tax brackets for the year 2023. Joining us now to break this down is CBS News Money Watch Associate Managing Editor Amy Peakey. She wrote an article reporting on these changes from the IRS for CBSNews.com. Amy, good to see you. How will tax brackets change next year for both individual and joint taxpayers?
Yeah, so it's kind of fascinating. What's happening is the agency is trying to avoid what they call bracket creep. So without such inflation adjustments, workers who got an annual cost of living pay increase could be pushed into a higher tax bracket, even though their standard of living didn't change at all. So that's particularly an issue this year because inflation's so high. The bottom line is what we're seeing is the IRS is adjusting tax brackets upwards by about 7%. So that means you need to earn about 7% more income to jump into a higher tax bracket. Now, tax experts tell me this could result in some tax savings for millions of taxpayers. For instance, a married couple with $200,000 in income will save about $900 in taxes next year due to these higher income limits for each bracket.
What other important adjustments are being enforced by the IRS next year?
Yeah, there are many of these provisions that are being changed for inflation. And one major one that impacts almost every taxpayer is the standard deduction. This is used by people who don't itemize their taxes, and that is the vast majority of most taxpayers. And this basically reduces the amount of income you must pay your taxes on. And that's also rising about 7%. So for instance, married couples next year can deduct $27,700 from their taxable income, up from about $25,900 this year. Another big provision that's changing are flexible spending accounts. This money is set aside to pay for your medical expenses. That's also getting a 7% boost. So you'll be able to set aside about $3,050 more in 2023 to cover your medical expenses. One thing to keep an eye on, though, is new limits for retirement accounts. Hasn't been announced yet. The IRS will adjust those upward for inflation, and it'll probably be announced in the next couple of weeks. So you could save more for retirement last year, but we'll know more in a couple of weeks from the IRS on that.
All right, Amy, bottom line, are these new changes truly reflective of the high inflation Americans are up against? Will they make a difference in our lives?
That's a great question. And the bottom line is that on average, it should help most taxpayers. We know the average worker saw wage gains of about 5% this year, which means that the bracket increases of about 7% will cover those higher wages. Of course, inflation is even higher than that. It's above 8% right now. So we know that those wage gains aren't keeping up with inflation. People are losing purchasing power. But at least when it comes to taxes, most taxpayers should see a break, or at least break even next year, thanks to these adjustments from the IRS.
And we said that this is for 2023, but it's for the 2022 tax year. Is that right, Amy?
It's for 2023, so you will see these adjustments next
Still
year.
have to wait. All right.
Worth the wait, though.
All right, Amy Peeke, thank you.
Thank you.
Martial law begins tomorrow across 4 Russian regions of Ukraine that Russia claims to have annexed.
Russian President Vladimir Putin made the statement during a speech to his Security Council earlier today. Putin illegally annexed parts of southern and eastern Ukraine after holding staged referendums, despite not controlling the regions politically or militarily. Russian forces have already begun evacuating tens of thousands of people from Kherson ahead of an expected Ukrainian counteroffensive. Meanwhile, Russia continues its air assault. Ukrainian officials say they shot down more than a dozen drones and missiles so far today.
For more on this, let's bring in CBS News reporter Mary Ilishina. Mary, Russian President Vladimir Putin has declared martial law in those illegally annexed regions of Ukraine. What do we know about how people there are going to be impacted?
Right. Well, under Russian law, this gives pretty wide powers to the military and to the law enforcement. Most importantly, I think, to detain people who they believe is a security threat to up to 30 days, to seize civilian property for the needs of the army, to control all communications, intercept them, read them, and to also impose and limit restrictions, movement around the region, entry bans, exit bans, and also imposing curfews. The question is how actually that will change the situation on the ground and how that will differ from living under military occupation, which those people in those regions have been living for about 8 months now, because Russian forces have been displacing people, detaining people, arresting them, killing people for all this time. So whether that will actually have a very significant change on the ground, that still remains to be seen.
Putin also gave emergency powers to the heads of all regions of Russia. What does this mean?
Yeah, well, some lawyers note that this introduction of martial law could actually have wider repercussions for Russia domestically rather than on the battlefield in Ukraine, because essentially what we have now is that the regions that border Ukraine, it's 8 territories, there is economic mobilization, which is not very specified in the decree that Putin signed, but essentially sets these areas on a war footing and allowing the country, at least partially, to switch their economy on sort of wartime economy and support the military there. It also opens up a path for these regional leaders to expand on this decree and potentially, limit movement, close the borders, have, again, wider powers to detain people. So that could potentially be interpreted in however the situation develops. And the regional heads have wide powers to very much restrict Russians inside their regions.
Well, Russia's been targeting power, water infrastructure across Ukraine. Tell us, what's Russia's ultimate goal?
Putin has been betting on the upcoming winter to, put pressure on Ukrainians and sort of make it harder for them to fight, and also for civilians to sort of push through as the country tries to repel the Russian invasion. Because what Russia has been doing is targeting a lot of key infrastructure, leaving people without gas, heating, electricity, which will be very, very difficult, obviously, as the months grow colder. This is the tactic that Russia has been implementing also in Europe and in their sort of gas supplies, in hopes that the overwhelming need of these people to have heating, electricity, and basic needs will overpower their support for Ukraine, and also kind of break the Ukrainian spirit as they face this onslaught.
Mary Ilishina, thanks so much for your reporting.
Okay, we all know that one person who just gets eaten alive by mosquitoes. Maybe it's you. I'm one of them. But now we're learning more about why. A new study says it could have everything to do with how you smell. CNN's Tom Foreman is here to explain. I know there are a lot of people wondering why they're a mosquito magnet. Tom?
Of course, this is
understand.
really exciting research out of Rockefeller University up in New York, where they do a lot of great work on this. What they have found is that skin odor has a definite attractiveness to mosquitoes in some people. How definite? So much so that in some cases they say the people who attract the mosquitoes are 100 times more attractive than other people nearby in that circumstance. Now, what is it about skin odor that makes a difference? They put these sleeves on people and then collected their skin odor and then tested them against mosquitoes, and they found that what it was a type of fatty acid called carboxylic acids. What do carboxylic acids do? Carboxylic acids really, really draw mosquitoes. Only female mosquitoes, by the way. Male mosquitoes do not bite. And they give a slight odor, these acids, of cheese and feet, which doesn't sound that attractive to begin with. If the mosquitoes aren't bothering you, you might have another problem. But here's the thing, Anna. The mosquitoes, they even tried to say, what if we could somehow cut off the receptors on these mosquitoes so they couldn't really smell it as well? Didn't matter. They had backup systems. They still went after these people more than anybody else. So now the question is, can you come up with some sort of a blocking lotion or something that people could put over their skin that would suppress this, so at very least these people are not more attractive to mosquitoes than anybody else, and maybe you can get to where they're not so attractive. Big, important deal, because remember, mosquitoes, aside from just being a nuisance and being uncomfortable, 700 million people per year suffer from mosquito-borne diseases like Zika and dengue and malaria. So this is big news. It may seem funny in a way, but in other ways could be really important, Anna.
Yeah, I'm laughing because I admitted at the beginning of the segment that I'm one of those people who gets bit all the time, and apparently I'm putting off an odor of cheese and feet.
Well, I guess when you go to the beach next time, if you have somebody
I'm going to tell my
barefoot,
husband that we learned that it means you're extra sweet and have a wonderful scent.
Yes, that would be a good play at this point. So anyway, exciting news, and hopefully next spring when we're all dealing with this, maybe we've made some more progress on figuring out if there's some way to stop this.